let's let's move on to the discussion part. So I was Param, could you just remind me what the exact question is?
Yeah, so we had gotten this question in a couple of different formats in the response form that we had, and the question pretty much is, how can we operate in an environment where there are cliques or cliques, however you say. So that's
So
this.
so how do we navigate in an environment where there are a lot of cliques or clicks? How do I pronounce it? Cliques or clicks?
I think it's cliques.
Cliques.
I've gotten a couple of messages saying cliques, so cliques it is, I think.
Okay.
Clicks.
Clicks.
Someone did
Clicks.
somebody
Okay,
click?
okay.
I heard cliques.
All right. There's seems to be
Okay,
some.
so I'll just use it interchangeably. Okay, so I guess this is something all of us face in all various different environments that we are in, at workplace, at satsang, at friend circle, at school, at work, whatever other form of community that we belong to. And if we, I mean, when I first thought of this uh, question, I was just thinking about, if you just look at creation, or just think, when you say world, how do we describe the world? Um, we would say, we could say, oh, the world, Earth is a combination of water bodies, or the oceans, and the seven continents. And uh, seven continents itself, right there, we have already grouped things now. There are different continents, people belonging to the continents. There are seven groups now already. Or we say the world is a combination of all the birds, animals, trees, the landscapes, hills, mountains, human beings. Again, when we say, we are naturally again segregating all the beings in a group, right? Or we can say the world is a combination of people of A, B, C, D, E faiths. Again, we are segregating them into different groups. I feel the very nature of the creation, or the very nature of the world, is to be in groups. Is it good or bad? Definitely is a subjective point to ponder on. So I feel definitely groups uh, um, is sometimes required so as to sustain. For example, um, say um, we build a house. We build a house. We would have a set of uh, wooden structures. Of say, let's begin with the beams. The beams have to go in a certain place, so they are arranged in a particular way, and they have to be the way they are. And then there are certain wooden frames that we put to the house. Those wooden frames go together. And then say we have false ceiling and the drywall, they are actually together. Then we put the furniture together. The furniture is as a set, they are together. The dining set, the dining table and the dining set, they are together. The bedroom, the bed, the side table, the night lamp, they're all together in one place. When they are all together, that's when it becomes a house. If you have the dining table, one dining chair in your bedroom, one dining chair in your living room, one part of your dining table in your second bedroom, and the plates and the cutleries in your um, altar room or kitchen, it wouldn't be a house, right? It becomes a house when things that are meant to be together are together, and they are arranged in a particular way. And it becomes a house only when they are arranged in a particular way, they coexist. They have some kind of um, bond or link between themselves. That's when it becomes a house. Similarly, same thing with the world. We could always argue. I guess did we discuss this as part of one of our previous discussions, Ayurveda Reflect sessions that we had? Think of the world. Now, the world is a combination of 200 plus countries. And when you say 200 plus countries, we are actually segregating the 8 billion plus population into 200 groups, technically, right? 200 plus groups. And isn't that actually dividing the 8 billion people? Yes, it is. But think of a situation wherein there are no countries at all. Think of United States as no country, just a land with a lot of people living in there. Maybe in the ancient times, maybe it worked quite well, but given the human nature today, think of if the concept of country itself wasn't there. Probably we'll have a lawless state, right? We will have complete anarchy. There's a good chance that would happen. So though the countries seem like segregating the 8 billion plus people into 200 plus groups, actually it brings a structure to this world, right? So I'm just speaking out these points to impress upon you. Probably it is an innate nature, or probably a required nature, to have groups. They kind of form anchors at various places so as to bring some stability to the creation. That's why it's a general saying, right? Birds of the same feather flock together. When they flock together, they do a lot of things together that is required to be done together. If they don't have a coordination among themselves, probably the ecological balance probably would be very difficult to maintain. So because they flock together, there is a sense of orderliness in the creation. So I'm not trying to talk about geopolitics or biology or geography here. I'm just trying to think aloud that probably it's the very nature of creation to have groups. Because when we have groups, when people of like thoughts can get together, they feel much better. That's probably how we should understand. So when we are talking about cliques or cliques, let us, the first thing we need to think about is that is the very nature. Let us not reject it. Let's not think of it being something sinful. Let us not think about it as something that takes you to an abominable state or some such. Let us accept that that is the very nature of how things are, including us. We are all here as part of this Ayurveda Reflect session. We are all actually flocking together. We all have some feather that is common between us, and we are all flocking together because we all have a similar set of thoughts that we like to express, and we just come together, right, for about a couple of hours once a month. So I feel the very first step is to understand that having groups is the very basic nature, a tendency that we all have. How do we form groups is definitely in our control, something that we can think about and do it well. That's something we need to focus on. So wherever we are, I feel it is kind of obvious that we are going to have cliques in the environment that we are in. So the very first step to navigate through that is to first accept it. If we try to deny it, we won't be able to face it. We won't have the mindset or the mentality to face it. The very first step is to accept that that is the very nature of how things are going to be. People or things that feel similar will come together. That's the very nature. So let's accept that first and then move on. So now we are thinking of whatever form of groups, cliques that we have in various environments that we are in. So what would be our best way to navigate through that? One, let us join any one of the cliques or cliques and we'll be happy. That could be one option we have. But is that the best one? Because if we join one particular school of thought alone, definitely we are missing out on a lot of beautiful other things. So it's always better to not get restricted to one corner alone. So maybe that's not the best option. The second option is to try to completely destroy this concept of groupism or cliques. Again, is that practical? We just discussed. Looks like it is the very innate basic nature. So probably even that would be a Himalayan task. So probably that's not easy either. The third one probably is what we should try to adopt. And if you look at Amma's life, she probably is a good example for that. The third option is accept the cliques, the groups as they are. We should try to help or form a bridge between these groups. That would be the best way we could deal with these groups, cliques that we see in various communities or environments that we are in. That would be the best way to do. If you look at Amma's example, Amma is surrounded by people of every kind from every walk of life. There are educated, there are uneducated people. There are rich, there are poor. There are Westerners, there are Easterners. There are people who are very philosophical and very spiritual. There are people who are very materialistic, and they're just there to have fun. There are every kind of people. There are youngsters, there are old people. There are people of all different subscription of thoughts, beliefs, faiths, nationalities. So if you really look at it, it's a natural tendency. You would see people just group together during Amma programs. But when it comes to Amma is literally part of every such group. Rather, she is not part of every group sitting and gossiping with them or discussing things with them. Rather, she is kind of a bridge between all these groups, because when Amma is there, people of every kind, every background, every thought process or belief that they come from, there seems to be a unity that gets created in Amma's presence. So I feel that would be the best way to navigate through that. I have discussed this before. I just will quickly reiterate that. And I was also mentioning this in Chicago when Swamiji, Swami Amrita Swarupananda was meeting with some of the volunteers who stayed back after the retreat in Chicago a couple of weeks ago. And he was talking about, our dharma, our responsibilities in life. And I was just giving the example of me, how I dealt with some of my friends during my college times. In my classroom, when especially in India, when you're in college for 5 years, you're all together for every class. So 40 of you deal with each other. You are the classmates for all 300 or 200 odd credits that you gain. You take all the same courses, so you're always together. So there is this group of studious students and not so studious students, the cool guys and not so cool guys, the spiritually oriented guys, and the fun having guys. So there's always these different ways of segregating, and the different people get put into different things, and there is a good alignment between studious and spiritually oriented people. There's a good alignment between the so-called cool guys and sometimes non-studious, and there are of course aberrations, outliers, people who belong to other groups. But there is always this group, some formation of group. So, like I mentioned to you, we were together for 5 years because we were doing an integrated master's degree. And all of us for 5 years, we were together, same classroom, same, the same environment that we are together in. Now, initially I was put in the group, or I got, wantedly or unwantedly, got into the first benchers group in the classroom. And I got into the more spiritual, religious part of the group of the classroom, and also I was not so cool, more principled and a good boy group. it's and you're the minority, in which case, that's how it was. Uh, so maybe first 2 years I didn't even think about it. Maybe I was just naive, I was just young. But third year onwards, I just started feeling, why this separation? Why not otherwise? And I told you I had this. I got into a situation where I we had this one semester of industrial training. So we had to go to a software company. Mine was a software engineering field, so we had to go to a software company, and I was forced to stay in a house for 4 or 5 months with literally the people from the other group, which the group that I was not part of at all. And I thought that was the best opportunity, or I really cherished that time. They were completely, they would drink, they would do all sorts of things which I was never in my dictionary at all. And but I thought that was a good time to create a bond between, or link between, the two groups. And it ended up wherein after that they would come for the weekly bhajans that would happen in the ashram in the university campus, because it's Amma's university. So they would come for those bhajans after that semester. They would come to help with a lot of seva activities that ashram would organize. They created some kind of bond wherein they stuck to their principles. They are free to do so, but there seemed to have some kind of dismantling of that border, firm border that was there between this group, that group, kind of melted away. Slowly, it just became a little more weak. The groups were still there. Let me not say it became a utopian world, but the groups were still there. But the segregation was much lesser, and they started seeping into this side. And I was always part of their initiatives and whatever they did. And together we did this guidance project for high school students, especially the government schools, the backtrodden areas. We would go there, give them career guidance and things like that. So we did a lot of things out of that friendship, that bond that formed in the third year, in that semester. So I feel I think I could do it only because what I got inspired the way Amma does things. So I feel if we can do that, that would be the best way to navigate through cliques. It's not about getting stuck into one clique or one group and feel settled. That is incomplete way of doing it. Completely doing away with the click is also not an option, because it's not practical, because that's the we are trying to trying to uproot the very innate nature of the way things are. The third one is the best, wherein let's try to be part of as many of these groups of the good things that they do, and we become a bridge or a bond or a link between these different groups. Maybe just two groups, that's fine. Become a bridge between these two groups. So I thought, how many of us are here today? We are 40 plus. So we had a feeling we may not have too many people come today because it's a weekend. People may have. So I thought we could go through a small discussion process. I thought, because I mentioned bridge, let's become a bridge between different islands that we see in environments that we are in. I thought let's form an acronym for bridge based on what we discussed. So I'll just start. And so should we do breakout session or should we just do this? What do you think, Param? Kaiva?
I think maybe it would be nice if we do all of us together in the spirit of being a bridge between all cliques and not forming our own right now. Maybe we can try this time.
Okay. All I need from you is whatever thoughts, whatever words or terms that come in your mind with each of B, R, I, D, G, E. 6 letters, right? Six things that we need. I thought of 6 things. I'll just quickly mention that, and then I'll open up the floor for each one of you to mention what do you think? Any word that you can think for any of the letters that you feel. So to begin with, bridge, BRIDGE, right? Kaiva, if you could share your screen and just make note of these terms, and let's just form an acronym. So to begin with, B, uh, like I mentioned, let's accept that groups, cliques will be formed. That's the very innate nature. That's how we, in all of us, try to become comfortable. The best way to become comfortable is we are around people who think like us. So, the first thing to navigate through this environment is first to develop broad mindedness. We need to think much more broadly. We need to have an approach wherein we accept uh, people of all different mentalities. Okay, so we'll just start with this. I'll ask you for other words. So, is broad mindedness an actual word? I was trying to type it on my phone, it would never bring that up. Broad mindedness is the right word?
Microsoft Word seems to like it.
Okay,
Broad-minded is a word.
broad minded. Okay, either way. R. Um, I couldn't really think of a term for R, so I'll definitely need help from some of you. One term that I could think of, rather a phrase rather than a word, the phrase I could think for R is to reject rejections. So when we go into a new environment, when we go into a new community, there's a good chance many will reject you. They will not know who you are. They'll not be comfortable around you. What the attitude we need to develop is I care less about it. And this brings us back to the point we had discussed some months ago in one of the reflect session. We are who we are. We are not what others think we are. Right? We discussed that. So R basically goes with that thought process. Let us not be scared of rejection. Let us not be scared of being accepted or not. Let's just reject that thought process of being bothered by rejection. So reject rejection makes sense. Reject rejection is an okay term.
Sure, we've got a suggestion of respect here as well, but I guess
Sure. We'll take that. So maybe Kaiwa, you can just add that. I is, of course, now that we go with the broad-minded thought process, and we are not really bothered about who likes me, who doesn't like me. I will like them irrespective. I will not bother about what people think about me. Rather, I will be myself. I'll be as good as possible to them. The next thought we need to have is inclusiveness. Include everyone as much as possible. Only then, invitation is a good term. It goes synonymous with inclusiveness. So as to build a bridge between these groups, we do need the attitude of inclusiveness, and we need to invite everyone to join in. So let's go with that. D, again, I'll need help from you, but the term that I thought about was the term dynamics. Dynamics, why? To build bridge between all these different groups, we need to know the dynamics of each of those groups. What would each person want in that group, or what does that group subscribe to? What is that group comfortable with? And because we know what they are comfortable with, we can make them feel comfortable. So knowing the dynamics, rather than dynamics, it's knowing dynamics is important. So that is what I could think of in terms of D. G, when we are trying to bring people together, what is probably the most important thing we should have is G, be genuine. Is genuinity a word? Or being genuine?
I'm not sure if genuinity is.
Okay, be genuine. Genuine. That's it. We need to be who we are. It kind of goes with the R. Just be yourself. Don't try to be someone else. This goes with, in Sanskrit, there's a verse which goes as Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat, na bruyat satyam apriyam, priyam chanandritam bruyat, etad dharma sanatana. So it basically says, speak something that is a genuineness, someone says. Vidya says genuineness for G. Speak that which is true. speak the truth. Priyam bruyat, speak that which is pleasant. Priyam chananrutam bruyat. Don't speak the truth which will be unpleasant for someone. And at the same time, na bruyat satyam apriyam. Don't speak of a truth which will be hurtful to others either. So speak the truth, speak something that is pleasant, that would make others happy, but at the same time, don't go out of way to make others happy by speaking something that is not true. Sometimes we would like to get into someone's good books. We would just go out of way in saying something which may not be true. Let's avoid that also. So be genuine, which is most important. Be yourself. Being yourself, try to be helpful to others, try to be inclusive, try to make people feel comfortable. Just don't lose, we should not lose our genuine attitude or our genuine self when we are trying to do this. And E, what I could think of was to evolve, when you say evolve, we are not trying to settle in any of these little groups. Rather, we want to evolve. We encompass all these groups together and try to bring them together. So these are the words that I could think of. So I think we have a lot of suggestions in the chat. So let's quickly take that. B. B stands B. Did I see a bridge for B? That's the whole word that we are trying to form.
Right now for B, we've got bonding, we've got befriending, and we've also got build. So
I think, sure.
Three that
So
we've got.
bonding, befriending, build. I think all of them kind of are synonymous.
So far, that's what we've got in B. With R, we've got
Respect.
yeah, respect, and then receptive,
Receptive.
responsive.
I mean, it needn't be typing. You can just unmute yourself and speak too. Feel free to do that. I think it'll be nice. And I.
For I, we've got individuality. We've got invitations.
And Anjana says integrity.
Yes, integrity as well.
Oh wait, what was individuality then
Invitation
and
integrity.
D. Diplomacy. Wow, nice word actually. But there is sometimes this misunderstanding that diplomacy is where you lose your genuineness. That's not what diplomacy is. I mean, according to me at least. Sometimes people tell me, "Oh, you're so nice to so many people. You're very diplomatic." But when the diplomatic comes, that you are just trying to be, the Sanskrit words that I mentioned about. You're just trying to be nice to others to make them feel good. I think diplomacy should be with genuineness. It should not be subscribing to the two other conditions: truth, which is not pleasant, or untruthness, which is pleasant. Not with that. So let's be clear about it when we mention diplomacy. Is that okay? So dynamics. Anything else?
One with D. Suchir had one earlier, which is it's a phrase is ditch division. So
Ditch division. Okay. It's like rejections. Similarly, ditch divisions. Okay, great. G. I see Gayatri says graceful. And to grow. What does gaiety mean? Gait.
just look that up. It's being cheerful or festivity.
Ah,
How about guiding?
Guiding.
guiding. And I also see generosity. And then E.
We got quite a few in E. All right, equality, evaluation.
And I like that, embrace and empowerment.
Yeah, we got a couple of empowerments. Engage is one. Empathy was one. We've got encouragement as well. I think E is the most popular one so far.
So I would just like to underscore or highlight. Let's when we are suggesting these terms, let's try to live them. Let's try to at least practice them to our best extent when we are in a situation like this. The next time we feel we are in a situation where there are groups which we are not able to fit into or we feel uncomfortable, let's not complain about this place is so full of cliques, groups. Rather, let us be the people who are trying to form a bridge between these groups. So, I mean, all these words more or less are synonymous. We cannot have broad-mindedness unless and until we have the thought of encouragement or empowerment. We cannot be genuine unless and until we have the idea of inclusiveness or integrity. We cannot respect unless and until we are diplomatic or we are graceful or we have the attitude of embracing. So all these words are interdependent. Rather, just one word is good enough. We can pick one word out of this and try to live that. But the main point that we discussed today is we should form, rather than doing away with groups and complaining about it, let's reject that, let's not think about it, and also trying to fit into just one group and feel okay, let us not settle for that either. Let's settle for the biggest option possible or the best option possible, which is to be part of every group possible, and more importantly become a conduit, become a bridge or a bond between these groups. If we can create that, I feel we will be the what do you call for it, MVP in whatever group we are. MVP is the right term? MVP or MPV? MVP, right?
MVP.
MVP.
So just a couple more words that we got in towards the end. In G, we got gratitude. And in D, we got daring from Ritu. Oh,
Daring.
yeah.
Daring in the right sense. Okay, daring definitely is a good term, but it should be used in the right context, because you don't want daring to create more conflict. Daring should be because when we are trying to approach a group or a people of one particular thought process, we should have some amount of courage and daringness to face them and speak with them. So even with that, for that, we should have that attitude of being daring. So I would just say, if at least two of you could add whatever thoughts that you feel about what we discussed, it'll help others. I think people can relate to it more when they hear it from people of their own age group. Anyone who would want to volunteer to just share very briefly what your thoughts are?
I can.
Who's
You guys
that?
hear me?
Can you spotlight?
My video's not on.
Okay, that's fine. If you're not comfortable doing that, it's fine. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say I for inclusiveness, I think that's a big thing. Like, it's fine. As you said, it's like a natural tendency for all of us to hang out in groups, like with our friends. We have common interests with them, we talk to them. But I think the point of contention is when we may sometimes come off as hostile to a person that's not in our friend group,
Mm-hmm.
or it may be even like unknowingly we might just, oh, like, yeah, let's all go here, like here for dinner, here for lunch, and then we might not even just think about like the person who's like not our friend but who's also with us. So I think that inclusiveness goes a
Sure.
big way when we all interact with like different groups of people.
Sure. So let us um, not make the mistake that we think anyone who's part of a particular clique or clique is making, right? Let us be the solution. So let us be as inclusive as possible so that no one feels left out, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Great. Sure, sure. Anyone else?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, who's that?
It's Ritu.
Oh, Ritu.
Um, I guess what does it mean to like be a bridge between groups? And also you mentioned like doing projects with like some of your groups. Like, is the like point of being in groups like what's the point of being in like as many groups as possible?
So, like I mentioned, it would be best if we don't have groups. It would be best we have no countries in this world. Everyone is just world citizen. But like I mentioned, the very first point I mentioned is it is the very basic nature that there will be groups that will be formed. There will be some form of. That's the way creation sustains. That's the way it is probably designed to self-sustain. Uh, so I think it's not about being in a group. And when you say uh, when I mentioned let us be part of every group, it basically means let us accept those groups. Let us not say, oh, this group is good, this group is bad. I don't like this particular group. I don't like when people of this kind come together. Let's just let go of that. Amma is a good example. She doesn't say that. Rather, she tries to become a link between that group and doing something good. Say, for example, I would say there are a group of people who have very specific political thought. Ashram itself, in Amma's ashram, there are people who live in the ashram who have different political inclination. And with political inclination, their beliefs and all that will differ, right? But Amma is not there to accept any one of them or correct any one of them or in any way um, uh, you know uh, you know educate or train any one of them. All Amma says is to accept them the way they are and to bring all of them together. You be the way you are, but let us become one together, is what Amma says. So, for everyone to come together, they need to find some common grounds. If we can create that common grounds, why not? Like I mentioned, the example of my classroom, my during my college time, I kind of became a conduit between the other group and the studious group, and because they became comfortable with me, this group also became comfortable with me, so I could in so many situations facilitate uh, a concerted effort wherein both these groups were part of. Simple things. Evening we used to play the game of cricket. Some were like, I don't want to play with those guys. That kind of thought process slowly went away. I don't say it's because of me. Maybe I was a little helpful in that process, wherein we could create that comfort zone between two different groups. So just that, if we can become means of creating that bond between two people of two different thought process, wouldn't that be a good service that we would do?
So, Abhijit, what are some
Answer your question?
examples of how you would create the bridge between the different groups?
So repeat that, sorry.
What are some examples of how you would create that bridge?
I just gave that example. In my classroom, in my the class that I was part of during my college time. I didn't try to make the studious guys cool in any way. Neither did I try to make the cool guys studious in any way. I just try to fit into them, just to make them feel comfortable. I just try to make the other group comfortable, participating in whatever little good things that they did. That way, I could become a bond between the two different groups. I feel I became like the messenger between the two different groups and bring them much closer. So I was just discussing that example. So I feel we can do that anywhere, and I wouldn't say I did something huge like a humanitarian effort that took place here. These are very simple things all of us can do in all different venues, be it a youth, be it satsangs, be it at work, be it at school. We can do that. Be it in our own neighborhood. We could always do that. Just little things that makes them comfortable. That's basically what we need to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Who's that?
Harsh.
Harsh. Okay. Harsh, congratulations, by the way. I saw some of your pictures.
Thank you.
Anyone else who would want to share some thoughts? Or how are we with time, Param?
I think we've got we're good. It's at 9:50 now, so I think we can do maybe one or two more, and then we can.
Okay.
Namah Shivaya, Swamiji. My question was, so this is Pallavi. I had a question of, in the case of when you're an outsider to a clique or a group, what would be the best way to break that barrier or kind of connect with them?
Yeah, that's one thought I was thinking about. I forgot to discuss. So I think we are always an outsider wherever we go. Even Ayuth, we were an outsider at some point of time. Even satsangs that we are part of, we were an outsider. Even the college that we are in, we were an outsider. So going from an outsider to insider is a matter of time. So I feel it will take its own time. It's not something that we can create a bridge right away. The bridge, even the physical bridge between two islands, it is not part of the island, but at some point of time it becomes the island, right? It becomes part of the island. You won't be able to make a difference between the island and the bridge as you drive from the island into the bridge into the island, right? Similarly, I feel it is a slow process. All we need basically there is patience, and we stick to being genuine, we stick to being broad-minded, we stick to these principles that we discussed and put in our effort little by little. I feel it is a matter of time and it will make a difference. So I don't think we should be too bothered about I'm not able to make a difference. Rather, just be patient, and we will become an insider over a period of time, whether we like it or not. Any you can think of any community that you're part of, professional or otherwise. You were always an outsider at one point of time, and whether you knew it or not, you became an insider, or you became the part of that group at some point of time, or community at some point of time. So I think that's a natural flow. It will automatically happen. I don't think we need to think too much about it. What we need to really think about probably is, how can I be genuine? How can I understand their dynamics? How can I be inclusive? How can I be broad-minded? How can I empower, embrace? Those are the things we need to bother about. For example, you go to say you're starting school at some point of time, or you're changing jobs, you're going to a new workplace. You know no one of them, but if you practice at least two or three of these qualities, being a newcomer into that environment, automatically people are going to be very comfortable with you. You don't have to put in any effort. They'll absorb you into their environment. So that's the best way to go about. Let us make people feel comfortable about us or with us. That's the best way to do it. Does that make sense, you think?
Yeah, I think for me, it's always been genuine and showing up to things, no
Uh-huh.
matter like that rejections type of thing is no matter judgment, just being yourself and showing up. I think a lot of people see that as a positive.
Sure. And whenever we also say be yourself, be genuine, I think it becomes incomplete if we, because sometimes we can misunderstand genuineness with I want the way the things I want, and I'll be just myself. When you say genuine, being genuine or genuineness, it should be with understanding of what the other person wants to, and let them be genuine too. So it is reciprocal. So when we are trying to be genuine, let's try to let others be genuine too. Let them be comfortable the way they are around us. I just wanted to add that point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I forgot we didn't do bhajans yet, right? One bhajan. Uh, Param, one more person, or
I think we could do one last one and then we can head to bhajans if there's another question from anybody.
not question. Even if you have something
Yeah,
to
anything to add.
When like what I assume is good, how do I know that others will like agree with that? Is it like finding like common like shared value?
Sure, sure. I think that's what I was trying to mention. There's a good chance someone else may be wrong, but uh, but that we should confirm only once we understand their side, their context, etc. So, broad mindedness probably is the first thing. Let us not think about I am right. Let us just think about what is their point, what is their uh, subscription of thoughts, what is their background that they're coming from, and then try to find a solution. So probably I feel not that I would say you're wrong. I would just say let's not even bring that topic up wherein I am right, because when you say I am right, we're automatically indirectly conveying that there is some problem on the other side. I am right, and probably they are not. Even if you don't complete that sentence, that assumption just seeps in, right? So I feel when we are in a situation like that, let us stop thinking that I am right. Rather, let's think about what is their point, what is their background, what is their justification for that, and let me see how can I fit my thought process with that. Maybe that would be a better way of approaching it, because as long as understanding or acceptance is concerned, our brain is a network of all the things that we have registered through our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, touch, uh, for as many years that we have lived, right? All that has gotten dumped into our brain, and then we have links between them. It's a huge network of things. So we wouldn't be able to accept something if it doesn't fit into that network. When you say I accept something or I understand something, it is when we are able to fit that into the huge network we already have in our brain. So let us keep that network open so that it can take thoughts in, others' point of view in. That would be the best way we can approach that. Make sense?
Oh, and I just had another like thought off of that. Like I think a way to do that is to like just like Alma says, like look for the positive in people. Like as soon as you see something like positive, you can like focus on that. And then like if you immediately bring that up, and the fact that you recognize that, that'll like slowly like start to like it'll like it's more genuine, and you can start to like open up, see the
Sure,
problem.
sure. And also to add to what Ritu mentioned, you said you were mentioning when you are right, how do you approach it? You ask any person, literally every person in the world is right, because you ask them, they'll always think they are right. So
Sorry.
solution is uh, how we can understand their rightness is the most important thing.
I meant to say like
Fine.
I'm tripping. Like what I think is good. How do I know that it's actually good? I feel like what I think is good is probably not like just my perspective is good.
I feel the generic thing about being right or wrong. I mean, I may be wrong. I may be, not complete in my answer. Just the thing that I practice in life. So many people, you may do things, people may feel hurt still, or people may disagree with that still. So how do you convince that what I did was right or wrong? One, if you can convince yourself that what you did or what you thought or what you implemented was not for a selfish reason. There was a good amount of selfless thought in that, selfless attitude in that. It was not for my satisfaction, something beyond just my satisfaction. Then you can be always be at peace, telling yes, what you did was not wrong. And just repeat your question once again. Sorry.
I think you covered it. I guess I was saying like what I assume is good may not be good for someone else. So like me trying to
Yeah.
do good with another
Yeah, sorry.
group.
Yeah. So first is we make sure that I had a selfless attitude. It was not for my personal, uh, you know, uh, personal, some kind of objective that I had for me to achieve something. And two, if uh, if at all something that did not benefit someone at that point of time, long term it will benefit them, then it's fine. For example, certain times it happens in a satsang or in a ashram residence setup, or in a group of students. It happens that I would tell them, let's do certain things certain way, and not everyone would agree with that. Sometimes it happens, and you try to explain to them as well as you could that this is why we are trying to approach this. And most of the time when you try to explain, 90%, 95% of people, they understand. There may still be some people who may not agree with that, but sometimes you have to leave it at that. Let them not agree, it's fine. But as long as I know that what I tried to do was not for my personal benefit, I can feel at ease. Two, if I can convince myself, or if I can be sure of that this will benefit that person, though he or she disagrees, will benefit that person later on or in long term, then we can be at peace.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So we are not having the breakout session today. I hope this format was okay. Probably just one of you left, so one less participant than when we began. So maybe not a bad idea that we had this format today. So we'll move on to bhajan.